disability?
Volunteer.
Day.
The puzzle piece thing. Autism awareness, that's what I think of. Unclear.
Child.
Disease.
Book.
What's his name? Stephen Hawking.
Disabled.
It's hard. So I know that there are differing levels of autism. These people are really intelligent, but it's just a matter of that they can't relate to people in the same way that other people do. Okay.
I'll be completely honest, I don't know a whole lot about it.
Autism it's a wide-ranging spectrum. I know that. I don't really have a solid scientific definition. You know, there are some that are very capable. They're extremely well socially adapted, and there are other kids who have some emotional problems.
I don't know. Well, although I'm sort of unclear as to the precise definitions of it, I think that, like, I know that the term autism is used to describe like a variety of different things.
Yeah.
I don't know how to define autism, because there's so many different ways to define it and so many different scales of it. I don't really know how the social disease or not. I know there's a lot of emotional, oftentimes a little more lack of emotional control.
It's a learning disorder, but I know some autistic people have really they're really endowed when it comes to things like art or music or something like that. So it can be beneficial in some areas, but it's detrimental to traditional learning, I suppose.
I think it kind of it varies per person. I'm not exactly sure what entails.
I know it's some kind of psychological, maybe even psychophysical disease. I don't really know that much about it.
What I think it is probably a neurological dyslexia that creates problems with I think your language function. I've only heard there of average to superior intelligence.
Difficulty with long-term concentration.
Okay.
So more of an attention span issue. Also some issues with language.
Okay.
And so being able to clearly say what they mean. It's really a wide spectrum.
So Casey, what is autism really?
According to the DSM-4, there's a range of symptoms that you have for autism. And you have to have symptoms from each three of these categories. The first category is there's a range of impairment in social interactions. For example, that would be failure to develop peer relationships. The second is there's a range of impairments in communication. An example of that would be a delay in spoken language. And the third is restrictive repetitive patterns of behavior, interests, and activities, such as repetitive motor manners. And all of these symptoms have an onset prior to 3 years old.
Cool.
People with autism have problems relating to others and making sense of the world around them.
A child might have a specialty, or they kind of have a certain kind of focus.
You can have seizures. You can have kids who are unable to speak sometimes, they're just able to make grunts, noises, stuff like that. I know sometimes there are vision problems. They're in decreased mental capacity. Then also you have kids who are extremely smart.
Kind of lack of focus over a long period of time.
So. Usually I associate it with unable to keep your focus on something that isn't interesting to you.
Are unable to acquire the specific cornerstones of language.
Not normal socialization. They have certain sensitivities to mundane things, like light or whatever, eye contact. They don't like to make eye contact. Might have difficulty interacting with people on what is to be considered a normal basis because of these things. But
focused on certain things and you get disturbed by little background noises or something. And
you can be developmentally challenged in certain areas, but potentially be more excel in others. I don't know about that, but it hinders development, I'm pretty sure. I don't know.
A lot of people with autism have that. Sometimes mixes your senses up a little bit.
I think it's genetic, but I think increasingly societies are diagnosing it. So, like, I would say that it's probably always been there, but now I know that the diagnoses are going up with it. So, and
I'm not quite sure. It could be hereditary. I don't really know. It could have to do with how mothers deal with being pregnant in terms of their time being pregnant. If they don't take care of themselves well enough, maybe. I'm not really sure. I think it's possible that it could be hereditary. I'm not really sure.
I don't think there's really any, like, I don't know if there's a genetic marker for it, but I know that it's any kids, like, I think it's just, I'm not really sure what causes it or who gets it.
I think there's a really small chance of hereditary traits.
I don't think it runs in families, but I could be wrong. I don't know.
I'm not sure it's even known exactly if it's more environmental or if it's a genetic thing. I'm not sure it's established.
I would assume that it's genetic.
I think it's genetic.
I don't know what the criteria are, no.
Bad luck. Or maybe good luck.
Scientists know it affects the way the brain works, but they don't know what causes it. Boys are much more likely to be autistic than girls, and it can run in families.
Scientists have identified several dozen autism spectrum disorder susceptibility genes. They account for about 10 to 20% of ASD cases. The environment does, however, play a larger role than genes do. It is suspected that an estimated 10% of autism cases are caused by genetic mutations.
I don't think you can cure autism, you just deal with the symptoms. I think that's the case. And so you're just trying to make the person function better, but you can never rid them of it.
I don't think so.
I mean, I'm sure that there are medications to treat symptoms. I wouldn't say it's a cure, because I feel like if there was a widespread cure and people really wanted to get rid of it, they would, but I don't necessarily think that there's anything wrong with people who are autistic to necessitate a cure. Like, understanding that we need to help them as much as possible, I don't think that it should be eradicated, because it's still something that differentiates the human condition.
I think there's a medication for it, but I don't know if it's always effective for everybody.
I don't think there's a cure. Not that I know of. So, I wouldn't necessarily think of it as a disease that's curable. Yeah.
I think there's medication for it, but I mean, I don't think there's a cure.
There are medications for the symptoms, like for seizures. I know some kids took it, and there's stuff like that, but to the best of my knowledge, there's no cure.
There are a wide variety of ways to deal with autism, from medication to therapy.
Types of therapy include behavioral, speech and language therapy, social skills, and occupational.
The most common types of medication used to treat autism include psychoactive drugs and anticonvulsants, which include antidepressants, stimulants, and antipsychotics. Other effective ways to treat autism include early intervention and family therapy that deals with learning how to cope with a child with autism.
There is no cure for autism.
What do people at McAllister know about autism?
Well, it seemed like one of the biggest general correct responses people had was the knowledge that autism exists on a spectrum, and there's varying intensities of autism. They got a few of the symptoms correct. Some people knew that it does have to do with a general social interaction disability. Certain sensitivities that are heightened for people with autism, as well as a lack of focus on certain subjects. People also knew that there is no cure for autism. Most people were pretty aware of the fact that it can't be cured. A lot of people also knew that it can be treated with medication. Not as many people suggested therapy, which actually is a more effective and more commonly used treatment for autism. And people were kind of on the fence about its genetic connections. if it is hereditary or if it's not, and how the environment generally plays a bigger role in determining if someone has autism or will develop autism. And I think one of the most important things is that people just didn't know. There were a lot of questions people just couldn't answer. And the best way that society can help people with autism is just being aware of the realities that exist with autism, because there are so many people who do have it.
Yeah, one of my mom's good friend's sons.
And one of my bosses at my job, her son, I believe, has autism.
My best friend in elementary school had Asperger's, so technically has autism.
It was my friend's brother.
Do you know a professor whose child's autistic?
No, well, I know two people reasonably well.
Okay.
They're not related to me, but they're kind of friends of friends.
My stats teacher in high school, his son had it.
Autism isn't rare. 1 in every 100 people is autistic, and it comes in all shapes and sizes. Though it can be a problem, I wouldn't swap my autism for anything. It makes me who I am. I just wouldn't be the same without it.